People miss the enhancement of social relations. Um, there's a lot of people from affluent areas of Baltimore and from outside of the city who, for the first time, got a chance to actually see and experience and feel some of the frustrations that dudes like me been going through since I was a little kid. So that was key, and that has been playing out now, even months after the uprise has cooled down a little bit. Is these people who always thought that police brutality and police murder wasn't a real thing actually got a chance to see the tipping point and what happens when it goes too far. They've been this way, so it's not even a starting point. You figure, in Baltimore, 97% of the people born in poverty die in poverty. These kids have people who live here have parents that can't get jobs. Their grandparents couldn't get jobs. Their great grandparents couldn't get jobs. Their great great grandparents couldn't get jobs, and then their great 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 grandparents were slaves. So there you go. It's almost like it's tradition. It's tradition. Bloomberg magazine just did a study not too long ago that said, Baltimore is the worst place in America for a black male to live. So it's almost like impossible to crack or make it to that next level, even if you have a skill set, even if you have an education. In this city, this is one of the few places where a black man with some college has less of a chance of getting a job than a white guy with like a bunch of felonies. Systemic racism. It's a system. Like it's a system that works. In America, we have capitalism, and basically, for capitalism to sustain, you need to make sure the nation needs to make sure it creates a certain amount of bottom feeders, people who never gonna make it to the top. Everybody can't be a lawyer. Everybody can't be a doctor. Everybody can't be, a veterinarian and all that. You need some people to go to jail. You need some people to die. You need some people to have to take medicine to survive every day because this is how the top 1% get their bread. They profit off of pain. So if I know my money came from your pain and I don't really care about you anyway, why would I come up off of that? Capitalism breeds violence. Yeah, you'll get killed over a dollar, flat out, flat out. I was a kid around the corner up the street. There was this dude. I ain't gonna say his name, but make a long story short, we was out front, and dude went to the store and he bought something, whatever, whatever. Korean guy left his change in a little roll around joint. It was like a dollar, maybe like a nickel and a quarter, something like that. So, dude left out the store without getting his change. When he left out, an older guy, dope fiend, came in, picked up the dollar and the change, whatever, and went outside back to the block. So this dude who left his money came back and he's fussing with the Korean guy, yo, where's my change, whatever, whatever, whatever. And someone says, yo, he put your change there. That one guy took it. He goes outside, finds the guy that took it, boom, blew his head off. That's East Baltimore. That's capitalism. That's what our country does. That's what our country breeds. The same things that go on in these streets is the same things that go on in corporate America. We'll kill you for a dollar. We'll cure AIDS and we won't sell it to you, but we'll sell something that'll get you close enough for us to tax you. You know what I mean? But we're not gonna sell it flat out. That's the key. What are we teaching our youth? That's why it's difficult to develop these huge agendas because you'll never reach everybody. So it's people like me and people like you and people like who have a focus on working with a direct group of people to actually make change that we can actually see and touch and feel and ensure that it spreads. Um, I know the young people I work with, they see the system and how flawed it is and what goes on and some of the ills that come with that because I can give them knowledge. I can give them my book. I can give them some of the articles I write. I can give them articles from some of the people I read. So I can put that on to them. But it's hard for me to talk about the whole black youth because there's no way I can reach all of them. And I'll be arrogant to sit here and say that all of them want to be reached. Everybody's different. People, they got to figure these things out on their own. So It always makes me think about Harriet Tubman when he was telling her that, yo, you must feel amazing. You would have freed you almost freed like 100 slaves, and she's like, I would have freed thousands if I knew they were slaves. You can only do what you can do, and hope that you land that foundation for it to spread and gets bigger and bigger with every generation. Because we can't fix all these issues in one lifetime. These issues took hundreds of years to create, so it's going to take a long time to get us up out of them. But I think we're moving in the right direction. Everybody's a hustler. Like, everybody has to survive, and again, going back to the whole idea of being black and not being able to find gainful employment or getting the skills needed to create that in a country where wealth is dangled in front of you all of the time, it makes you crazy. And violence is a tool. It's right there. It's easier to get a gun than it is to get a job, flat out. You can't go get a job, sometimes it takes months to get a job. You can get a gun in minutes. And then you think about the system as a whole, right? Who's the biggest employer in the country? It's the prison. It's the biggest job. They always hiring. They want you, flat out. So why wouldn't I construct this reality to bring you here so we can get that free labor and keep making money off you? Just like we made money off your ancestors. Just like we try to make the same money off your kids. It's a system that works. Free labor is a system that works. The United States isn't a superpower because of the Industrial Revolution. The United States is a superpower for the 450 plus years of free labor, flat out. A lot of times people don't even know they're in poverty. So that's a extremely important coping mechanism for dealing with that type of problem. If you don't know you're in poverty, right? If you don't know you in a messed up situation, that's a bonus on your side. Now, if I'm a person that's coming from like one of these big rolling park houses and you put me in the middle of right here, then yeah, I'm gonna be like, yo, this isn't right. This isn't how my school should look. My neighborhood shouldn't be boarded up. I shouldn't be able to ride rats up and down the street. This is wrong. But if this is all you know, that's a superpower. The key is, how is a community member like myself or you or people who are doing similar, type of work, what are we doing to expose that kid to the tools that they need to change their situation? And when I say change their situation, I don't mean run out the neighborhood. I mean change their level of thought, how they think and how they choose to navigate and what they choose to do with their life. And how can we get them to be able to spread those skills within the community so that other people can excel and do great things too. Yeah, those people who say things like that are normally disconnected from reality. So it's not really like, you know, it's not really let me rephrase that. The whole idea of social mobility is an illusion. And I say that because it can happen. You can make something positive out of your life. But if you don't have the skills to do it, these guys who talk about bootstraps, they're not really understanding that you're saying it's the people who aren't really getting the skills needed to do these things. If schools are tax based and you're in a poor neighborhood, then 9 times out of 10, your school won't have the resources to give you the skills to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, making that whole statement just a joke. The same guys who are talking about pulling themselves up by their bootstraps are like, look, man, I started this company with nothing but my heart, my integrity, a free office space from my granddad, and an $8 million loan from my father. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what they starting their companies with. So the people who say that, man, they ain't pull themselves up by nothing, man. They full of crap. But anybody that came from the bottom and made it to the top already know what time it is. They know what type of work they had to put in, and they know at the point in their life, what point they can identify that key point where they develop those skills to make it about that type of situation. Like they can pinpoint that. So we let's break it down a little bit. One, the community workers, people who do community work are always going to be there. Do they deserve extra resources? Yes. Do they deserve funding? Yes. We need to find a way to invest in them because they're directly connected. Now, investing in the wrong community leaders, so to say, could be the same trick bag as investing in the police department. You can invest money all day, but throwing money at issues doesn't really solve problems. You understand? So it's like we got to create some sort of reality where if you're going to invest in the community, invest in something that has displayed a certain type of results. If you're going to invest in the police department, don't invest in just hiring more cops because if we're not changing the tradition of how they police, then you get the same thing over and over again. Um, if you're going to try to merge the worlds, then why not invest in some type of situation where more young dudes, black dudes, and young black men and women running up and down the streets who don't really have, you know, a desire or skill or don't really know what they want to do. Let's get them in the police department. Let's make this is a 64% black city. Let's make the police department black. Like a couple of black cops who are in the city now, they buy into that same white culture. They buy into it. They in there. They buy into that tradition because they in there on their own. But if they was in there with 40 other 50 cops, that's you from Ashland Avenue. You from Chase Street, your mother from DE Land, we know you. Like, so we gonna police with love, and we not gonna be out here trying to like hurt people and tear them down and shoot them and all that because you have them community connections. So it's like poverty and despair and crime and all of these things, they go hand in hand. Like, they go hand in hand. It's you gotta eat. You're not gonna starve, self-preservation, right? You're gonna take care of your family, and you're gonna do that by any means necessary. Right? If you're a real person with love in your heart, you're gonna do that. Um, I would argue that most people who are in jail or most people who are out committing crimes right now don't really want to be doing that. They don't want to do that. There's nothing else to do. Yeah, poverty and despair go hand in hand, flat out. They go together, and what we have to acknowledge is that poverty fits into the system. It fits into the whole ideology of how our country functions. There's a lot of people who make money off of poverty. So it always goes back to following the money, right? All these boarded up houses, why we have homeless people. It's money. It's money. Like it's all money. Like it's real estate. It's land. It's money. It's bodies. It's bodies. It's different things we can do with that. So the United States needs poverty to function and thrive even. And on the other side of the spectrum, I think Loretta Lynch, I didn't really hear the speech, so I can't really, I didn't hear her speech, but I will say that if she thinks that hiring more cops into the same system is the answer, that's not the key. In Baltimore City, we have too many police officers and they all do nothing. They buy into the same racist culture and it is what it is. So it don't matter if you black it's Pepsi or if you white it's rice. If you put that once you put that blue uniform on, you hate people that look like me, flat out. So until we break that culture, it don't matter if we hire a million of them or two of them. The same thing is gonna happen. It's thrown around too much. They think giving cops one diversity class, bringing in a black guy that acts like them to teach them about black people is the answer to the problem, and it's not. It's one. That's one. Two, the same cops, they'll get their diversity class as a new hire, but then they'll be on the street for a year. That information is gone. I mean, can you tell me what you learned in your 10th grade geometry class right now? That's you're years removed from that. So you get one diversity class. They need diversity classes throughout the duration of their career. They need to be tested for they need mental evaluations throughout the duration of their career. They need to get these things at a yearly basis because once you're in the field, the only thing that's there is the same police culture that your manager subscribed to, that your corporate or your lieutenant or whatever. That same I hate nigga type mentality is the only thing that comes back every year. But the training and the diversity and all of those things are the things that fade. And that's why these things are the way they are. I can't even front. Um, I don't have children, so it's kind of hard for me to say how I would feel if I had a son or daughter going out to the street. But just looking at if I cut the news on, if I read a newspaper or whatever, like I would be scared for my child. I would be, I would be. But at the same time, I would like I know what I know. So based on my experience, if I had children, I'd be raising warriors. Like then I wouldn't have to be fearful. But at the same time, you probably will feel the same thing because some of these kids, like Mike Brown, on his way to college, cut down by bullets, flat out. The drug trades tore our community apart. And one thing that we don't really talk about enough that we need to shed a serious light on is that we're still recovering from the crack epidemic. Even though people are not really selling crack like they used to, like it's not like it was, it's not the hot drug, there's not lines all around the block for people waiting to tee off and all that. We're still suffering from that because that crack era, and this is what I can speak on because this is my time being born from seeing that. Like I'm a part of a group of a whole generations of young dudes that didn't have like a lot of us didn't have fathers. That's a problem. A lot of us had our uncles and our role models and our mentors or whatever be dope dealers. That's a problem. A lot of the people we looked up to got killed when they was 14, 15 years old, or they still in jail right now for nonviolent crimes. So all of these things destroy community. They destroy social fabric. They kill that whole grandfathering system that's needed in communities that do well. So we still suffering from that right now. We change it to the war on black people. It's the war on black people. We can't even call it the war on drugs. It should be called the war on African Americans, flat out. The black dude get caught with a couple of hours of crack. He's a kingpin. White guy get caught with the same thing. He has a problem. We're gonna get him help in job placement. You know what I'm saying? Ronald Reagan's a joke. Ronald Reagan's war is a joke. When I was 9 years old, I saw 2 bricks of cocaine. Ronald Reagan's face infused in the packaging like a mold. You understand? Ronald Reagan is drugs, flat out. He is drugs. And when I say Ronald Reagan is drugs, it's not a conspiracy theory. You look at check dude Gary Webb out, real journalist. Put the groundwork in. He got documents. He got paperwork. He got killed. He was making a difference with his craft. They took him out of here. It's one of them stories. Oh yeah, that guy killed himself. How? He stabbed himself 50 times. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely remember Just Say No, and drugs is, is as relevant in my family, as the black church and cookouts. Everybody was using it. It's an escape on both sides of the spectrum. It's an escape if you're using it, and it's an escape if you're selling it. Either way, it's benefiting you. People that use it is getting a feeling and, to escape the reality of this. And then the people selling it is getting the money to escape the reality of this. So it's I used to always look at it as like, we are addicts, you know what I'm saying? We are addicts. As a drug dealer, you're an addict. You're addicted. As a drug user, you're an addict. You're addicted. Either way, you're using it for an escape, to escape some type of reality. Reality of being broke and poor, or the reality of being broke and poor. You know what I'm saying? We both trying to escape the same thing. So if you selling it, you getting that money, you trying to escape that reality of being broke and poor. If you putting up your nose and shooting in your arm, you trying to escape that reality of being broke and poor. Either way, it's an escape. Either way, you're an addict. Either way, you trying to come up off of that. There's a crack valve right there. Y'all need a prop. Somebody had green tops bumping. Nah, it's an illusion. Like people think if you sell drugs, like, oh my God, he's in too deep. He can't get out because, Connect's not dealing with no kids or no regular guys. Like they got their people, but you can sell drugs for years and stop. Like I sold drugs for years and stopped. Why? Because I wasn't spending money on buying anymore. Wasn't nobody fronting me anything. I was buying what I had. And if somebody The only way you can, it's really hard to get out is if you really rocking and rolling and somebody fronts you a lot of product and you don't pay them their money back, then you might have a problem. But if somebody fronts you a lot of product and you get rid of it, you can stop selling drugs, you can get out. You don't even need an exit strategy. The exit strategy is to stop. This is Baltimore City, but people don't leave their neighborhood. So guess what? I don't want to sell drugs no more. I hang up in here in this Deaky Land area. All right, fuck it. I'll be down the hill now. All right, I'll be over Latrobe now. It's so easy to not sell drugs. Like, when you don't want to do it anymore. It's not like the movies. It's not like them after school specials. Johnny started and he can't get out. He's in too deep with these guys. It's not like that. Because as soon as you stop, there's somebody ready to take your spot. They want your customers, they want your client, they want that phone. They know I give you this phone. This is the phone where all the sales come from. So I give you this phone. You can take this phone and now all them sales I used to get are your sales now. All that money I used to make is your money now. So it's always somebody in line looking to take that job. It's because there's no opportunity. You can't do nothing else. Yeah, I don't demonize the people caught up in the system. I demonize the creators of the system. I don't demonize the dude on the corner. I demonize the social factors that led up to that guy being on the corner. It's a big difference. That guy on the corner is not a bad guy. That guy on the corner doesn't even have a clue. That guy on the corner was set to be on that corner 200, 300 years before he was even born. So I don't demonize him. I don't demonize him for the things that he does, but I demonize the system that allow him or placed him in that position. Think about Rosa Lee. You ever heard of Rosa Lee? So there's this real big time reporter, Washington Post, I believe, named Leon Dash, and he did a series editorials on this woman named Rosa Lee. She was a heroin addicted prostitute who the system failed. When I say the system failed her by not getting her the treatment and the care that she would have got if she was a white lady. Rosa Lee had 8 kids. Her 8 kids went on to have 40-some grandkids. Out of them 40-some grandkids, I think like half of them went through the system. Think about that. So we paying 20, 30-some, 40-some, whatever $1,000 a year to house her. Now multiply that by the amount of money that we paying to house her grandkids. You know what I'm saying? So the system failing is allowing generations of people to be born to be failed by the same system. You know? So I demonize the people who benefit from that system. It's the present industrial complex. That's these healthcare facilities. You know what I mean? These super hospitals, right? I demonize them because they know what's going on. They know what they're doing. It's not a game. It's not a coincidence. None of these things. Every black person you meet under 19 years old telling you they hate reading. It's not a coincidence. That's an effective system. That's somebody's algorithm, somebody's brainchild. Somebody really figured that out. Like, you know, it's systems that work. So I don't demonize the dude on the corner. I demonize the dude that put him there. Transformation for me is a generational thing. It's the ability for individual community members to figure out what their skill set is, achieve mastery in that, and then spreading those skills to other people and teaching people to do the same. Very, very simple. When you give, when you learn, teach. That's transformation for me. I kind of stay away from some of the big marches and the big organizations and the big things like that because I think that my skill set is more powerful working directly with people I can have a direct impact on. I don't think my superpower is to yell in front of a crowd or rally with 10,000 people. I don't think that's the best place for me. I respect everyone that does that, but I think as far as my skill set is I need to be in somebody's classroom. I need to be on somebody's block. I need to be at somebody's literature workshop. I need to be spreading my skills in that way. So that's transformation for me. And I think that all of us have to get to the point of realizing, yo, what can I do? What can I do? How can I be the best at it? And how can I share that? If every black man, every black woman took that responsibility, you know, then we would see some young people really doing their thing because, you know, my thing is writing, but you know, your thing might be fitness. So you might be teaching some young boys how to do pull-ups and eat vegetables and all that. You know what I'm saying? Your thing might be film, so you might be teaching some young girls how to pick the camera up and be directors and make their own films. You know, make a career as an artist and be able to have a cool life and make projects that mean something. Somebody else's kick might be financial literacy, so they might be able to come through and say, "Yo, this is once you get $1, this is how you bust that joint down. This is how you spread that dollar within the community. This is how you create wealth amongst the people that you see every day." So it's like my thing is a person and people. I work with people and believe in people. So I think people have the power to make these small changes, and these small changes will spread. The same thing that happened with Rosalie, how she's one person that gave birth to this generation of people that had to go through some of this stuff. We can be one people who are giving birth to generations of people that's doing anything and making a difference.
Gonna happen. The movie, The Wire. Do you remember seeing the episode where the police major told all the drug dealers that if you stay in this one street block, they happen to name Amsterdam, that you can sell drugs and use drugs? Okay, let's get for real. You can't get the drug dealers to sell drugs in the same block. It's repetitive. Each city street block has anywhere from 28 to 45 houses in the street block. You can't get, and I'm explaining it like this, every drug addict, drug user, and weekend warrior. You can't get every one of them in every room, in every house in that street block. It was one neighborhood. And that's what we was able to prove. It kept shifting. Okay, I've been here for 33 years. When I moved here, I was one of the first African Americans to move in this particular neighborhood. But about 15, 16 years ago, we saw a big change in the community. We saw a lot of white flight that moved out of the community. Saw a lot of minorities moved in. We had people from public housing moving into the area. We had people from Section 8. Not that these are bad people, but these are people that come from different living environments. But what also came into the neighborhood was all these different drug cultures, these different drug groups that moved into this community. We had drug gangs just 2 and 3 blocks away from each other. This is the intersection here of Montford and Port Street and Jefferson Street. And this was known as the most deadliest intersection in Baltimore City at one time. At one time, there was like, in the 18-month period, 21 people got shot, 19 of them died, and all of them grew up with my 2 daughters. I've been a single parent for 26 years. And being a leader, it was very hard to try to get people to organize, to come out, and to work on some positive things in the community when the crime was that bad in this area. These drug boys in this particular area here, most of them was from this community. They believe that if they sell drugs in a intimidating environment, that it makes them look more dangerous. So they would steal cars from other places and come into the neighborhood and just ram the marble steps. They would bust out the windows of vacant houses. Right across the street here, there was like 4 houses here owned by the same landlord. And the drug dealers paid the landlord months in advance. And what happened is that the drug boys started knocking walls out on the first floor, the second floor, so they can occupy all 4 houses at any given time. So they was renting out rooms for prostitution, gambling, cutting up drugs. They had people up on the roof that were shooting at other outsiders if they were to be attacked or what have you. And the problem that we had here as a community, we were just wondering why all these drugs, why all these problems was allowed to be corralled in this particular neighborhood for so long, and especially with the homicide. The other problem we saw with that is that out of those 18 people that got killed, a lot of them didn't even hit the news. You didn't hear about the homicide on the news. And we're saying, well, what's wrong with this picture? And what we're watching is that the same thing that happened in this particular neighborhood here 15, 20 years ago, it was just west of us, which is now the Biotech Science Park, the Middle East community. So what we're watching is a pattern from community community every 15 to 25 years of crime, decrease of home ownership, poor city service, and these type of things happening. But behind every decayed neighborhood, because that's what happened here, okay, you're better educated, financially stable. Those people with those technical skills and resources moved out of our community. The churches are no longer community friendly because their members were the ones that moved out. So there's no help in these areas. And myself personally, from doing this for over 40 years, I believe that it was done on purpose. And when you can look and track, especially here in East Baltimore, on a southeast pattern, the decay of the communities on the southeast pattern, and I would say going back 80 years from Green Mountain North, Harford Road, the Oliver community, Broadway East, Middle East, that's now the Biotech Science Park. It came in this particular neighborhood 15, 16 years ago. Now it's all over this hill. But behind every decayed neighborhood, it's a redevelopment plan that does not include the people that live here. Okay, so there's a lot. I have about 24 names of people that wanted to do a documentary about their experience of living here. These are people who had family members that got killed because of the drug culture, mistaken identity shootings. These are people that had drug people in their family, drug addicts or drug dealers. And when you look at this list, many of them are dead now. If you look at the Baltimore City paper, they were doing an article about what drugs and crime did to this particular neighborhood. And we had Charles Dutton. Charles Dutton had HBO to put up the first $60,000 towards this filming. But the mayor at the time, Kirk Smoke, had this movie squashed. But what we wanted to show was that we had a drug gang here, and 3 blocks up this way was another drug gang. And the story was that if these guys and the guys up here were caught selling drugs within the next block, they would start shooting, fighting, stabbing each other. But the story is that you had family members in both gangs. It's like, what does this drugs do to these people? The other part of this documentary was that we're looking at people in the households. You have big families here. They have 8, 10, 12 people in the family. The older children in that household seem to be doing good in their lives. Married, they're working, they're productive in the community. But it's like that younger generation, they got caught in that drug culture. So you have to ask the question, what happened in that household? Well, really, nothing happened in the household. They were living by the same rules. The household didn't change. The living environment changed. And when that environment changed, people are forced to change right along with it.
What this is, now I loaned out my city paper article about the movie and I never got it back.
Yeah, it's online. Check it out.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's online.
Can you send me a copy? Because I can't get it.
Sure.
Oh, no, this ain't it. I got the, oh, here we go. No, don't worry about it, because it's tan anyway. This is really old. I had this up in storage. This was an office down here. This recently changed it. This, I call it the movie. Okay. And what it is, for instance, I'm going to show you something. This guy right here, drug dealer, right? His cousin owed him $10. He killed his cousin. $10. I remember these kids when they were in Pampers. Okay? In a Milton and Moffett, right around the corner, was known as the most deadliest intersection in the city. In an 18-month period, 21 people got shot, 19 of them died, and every one of them were my 2 daughters. So as a community leader, you know what that can do. It's like, it's damn hopeless, you know what I mean? What can you do? But drugs was allowed to be in this neighborhood. You could walk up and down the street and you see drug paraphernalia. There was so much drugs in the neighborhood. You'll find a bag of weed. You'll find a capsule of crack. That much drugs in there. Prostitution was like crazy. On here, and as long as I get this back, y'all can take it with you. But I keep all kinds of articles homeowners took terrorized for standing up to drug dealers. In 4 days, they broke in my house 3 times. Okay, I was always getting banked by these young drug boys. I'm like 260 now, but I was weighing like 330. And I ain't never lost a fight in my life. And I'm just knocking these young boys out. But a lot of them went to school with my kids, and some older. It was a newspaper that a dozen drug dealers jumped community activists. But it wasn't a dozen, it was 9. 9 of them jumped me up, and 7 of them in the emergency room. But I had to go myself to hit me with a bullet for nail to split this ear, and they had to weld it back on.
Safe Street has been very effective whenever there's a shooting or a homicide. And they would do their rallies, they'll come out, they'll speak to neighbors. Their people are in the street all the time, so they may hear about disputes between individuals or different gangs, and they'll come in and intervene and try to squash it. But also, since I've been back as president of McElderry Park, we're now asking Safe Street to help us to go a little bit further to deal with our nuisance neighbors. Because like I said, you got people moving into the community that are not used to living in community, used to living in public housing. And once again, not that they're bad people, but they come from different living environments. So whenever there's a dispute, we know we can go to Safe Streets and say, hey, look, can you intervene and speak with these residents here before we wind up, calling the police on them or whatever like that, because we don't want to make enemies of our neighbors. So Safe Street played a big, major role in helping to keep the crime down in this area. And personally, I hope they never leave.
But people don't want to tell the story. People don't want to tell the story because it involves top-level people. It involves Johns Hopkins. It involves the politicians. Okay, because they allow stuff to decay.
What is happening in this area here is that McElderry Park, its membership is a small membership. The members are all homeowners. They are very dedicated. They attend meetings. We have over 3,000 residents in this area. We were lucky to get a dozen people to a meeting every month. I've been president for 19 years. I've been absent for 10 years because of my health. I've been back as president for the past year as of December. And we have a lot of good things going on. We had Habitat for Humanity at the table with our community redevelopment plan known as the MMFRP, which is the Milton Moffett Fayette Revitalization Plan. And we had Habitat for Humanity at the table, but they were being blocked from purchasing any of these vacant properties in this area. As soon as Councilman Warren Branch won the election for the 13th Councilmanic District, Habitat has purchased over 52 vacant properties, turned into home ownership. And they're working on another 40-some properties now to turn into home ownership. So that's what you see now. Almost all these houses, they were all homeowners, they all became vacant, now they're all home ownership again. It's not the police department, okay, that chased this drug culture away. It's the new homeowners that came out, that now they're coming out sitting on their steps, they're sweeping, they're very visible in the community. Drug dealers look for intimidating neighborhoods, okay, because they feel like if the neighborhood is dirty, it's trashy, they feel the people don't care. And if the people don't care about their living environment, then they don't care about the people selling drugs. So that's what actually pushed these drug people out of this particular community.